Hi, welcome to Big Smith News Watch. Welcome to Focus. My name is Leroy Smith, and this evening we will be speaking with Ms. Allion Parker. She is the Public Relations Officer and Communications Head of the Competition and Consumers Affairs Commission. Ms. Parker, welcome to Big Smith News Watch.
Thank you, Leroy.
All right, so tell our viewers, how was the year 2022 for the Commission?
Well, actually, we had a very good year in the sense that I think consumers are becoming more conscious and more aware of their rights. And so we had an increase in complaints last year. For last year, we received 510 complaints, and the value of those complaints amounted to over $200 million. At the end of the year, we were able to solve 170 million plus, which was 87% of the complaints made. The others are still in process. They're still being worked on, and I am sure we'll wrap those up very early. What we continued to see last year was the appliances, electronics, and auto industries ranking right up there where complaints are concerned. So most of our complaints come from that sector. The auto industry in particular, in terms of the value, well, of course, they will be more expensive, so the value is more.
But just before we get to the auto sales and auto dealers and the auto complaints, let's tell you that the Competition and Consumers Affairs Commission, it is a body that is constituted under the laws of Guyana. And if you are a consumer, you're purchasing goods and services and you're dissatisfied with the service or the quality of the products that you've been given, this agency, this body, this institution, this commission is the agency that you need to approach, provide them with a statement. They'll also allow you to fill out a form where you state exactly what your issues are, what your concerns are, what your disappointments are, and then they will launch an investigation. And of course, where applicable, you compensated or given back or whatever is the case.
Yes,
so that's the basic.
Well, yes, Leroy, I'm glad you raised that because while we continue to do our work across Guyana, we have people who are saying to us, and that's why awareness is key in our focus, that they are not aware that there is such an agency, or even more so, there is a law that protects consumers. And yes, there's the Consumer Affairs Act that was signed in September of 2011, and that law allows the Competition and Consumer Affairs Commission to manage and enforce the Consumer Affairs Act on your behalf, on consumers' behalf, and we're all consumers. So this act offers protection to you, a consumer. We look at durable goods and services, no food, durable goods and services.
So let's get to the auto complaints. Or maybe just before we get there, you spoke about the value or the monies that were recovered last year on behalf of consumers. Let's explain that a bit more for them. I saw a press statement from the Commission last week.
So what it means is that we got complaints to the value of 200 plus million. When we total the amounts of the individual products and services, it amounted to 200 and plus million. When we resolved it, what we did, those that we resolved, is the value of those that we resolved that amounted to 117 million plus, which I said is 87% of the total amount. What that means is that we were able to either get back a refund, a repair, or return for the aggrieved consumer.
Which is more difficult to achieve at the level of the Commission?
So what the Act tells us we should do is first, let the supplier offer to repair. Second, to replace if you still have problems with the repairs. And third, to refund the total receipted amount.
And so that is the importance of requesting your receipts, because...
Oh, yes. We can't say that enough, Leroy. We can't say that enough. Because just consider they are good suppliers and they are unscrupulous suppliers. And so you buy something from a supplier, you never took your receipt, and then you encounter some difficulty. They can very well deny that you bought that item from them. And we have had situations like those. There are those honest suppliers who acknowledge, yes, you bought the item from me, and I will do what is right under the Consumer Affairs Act. And that leads me to, that's why we're doing compliance checks now. So we're not leaving it on the consumer alone. That same act talks about the duties of the supplier. Part 4 of that act talks about the duties of the supplier. And in that duty is your right to give the consumer a receipt, right? And that receipt should not only be a receipt that states bought from X store or Y store. The act says it should have 3 essential things on it. It should have the date of purchase, it should have the value of the item purchased, and the VAT should be included and listed separately, and there should be a description of the item purchased. It's very important to have that description.
So 4.
3,
Okay.
price.
Value.
Well, price and value, I used it
Okay.
interchangeably. Date and description.
And description.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, and I think you yourself, I'm assuming here, so you could correct me, would probably walk into a Chinese supermarket at some point and purchase without asking or receiving a receipt. Are you getting that experience?
We have had complaints of stores, I don't want to single out Chinese only, because it's across the board. Suppliers refusing to provide receipts, saying that they don't give receipts. It's not what you give, it's what the law says, and you should be compliant with the law. So currently we're doing, last year we ramped it up, doing inspections. We're not waiting for complaints to come to us. We do weekly inspections. We are doing it in all 10 regions. Currently we have a team in Maburuma. They left this morning. Last year we did 1,005 inspections. What we do once we find that you're non-compliant with the law, and we look for a number of things, not just the receipts. We look at your warranty policies, we look at the display of your prices, we look at your after-sale service. There are a number of things we look at. Once you're found compliant, we issue you with a compliance certificate. You remember we had the big event last year where we awarded the outstanding compliant businesses who applied for the award. If you're non-compliant, because we want to work with you, Leroy, this is not fighting anybody. This is working with suppliers, working with consumers, and some genuinely are not aware of the act. So they're doing things based on what they have always done. Once we find you're non-compliant, we give you an excerpt of the Consumer Affairs Act, duties of the supplier. We point out to you where you fell down. We give you a chance, 1 month, and we go back to ensure that you are now up to scratch with the laws of the Consumer Affairs Act. What we've been asking people to do, because we are limited in number, so consumers, we're asking to work with us. So you go into a store and you see that no refund, no return sign, which is in itself illegal to have it up, and the act is also illegal. We ask you to indicate to us. You can call us on 219-441-023 and indicate to us where you saw the sign, and we'll make a visit.
229-4410-23. Okay.
And we make a visit.
All right. With respect to the auto complaints, I really want us to talk about that. I lost a vehicle once to repossession. My vehicle was repossessed. I think it was within 6 months or just under 6 months. from an auto dealer on the
What
East
was your
Coast.
what was your specific issue
Well,
in
the
terms
first
of
thing to begin with, I signed a blank contract, and we went into courts and so on. Selena's auto sale, and so I, I take the liberty to say, if you're dealing with that auto dealer, just be very wary of those blind contracts if they still issue them. So I was excited to own a vehicle, so I just signed away. And so once I was
I like to
finished,
call it the sign here syndrome, because we get excited
yeah,
and then they say sign here and we just sign here without reading the clauses in the contract.
what I did is I was excited. So to own a vehicle for the first time, I own a vehicle. So I sign a set of blank papers. And so what happened after that is they apparently put in their own terms and what's not in that document. So I don't know what terms I would have signed to, because everything was not written and spelled out there while I was signing. So let's talk about the auto
And I'm glad that
complaints.
you highlighted your issue, Leroy, because it's not unique. And every time we do an outreach and we're talking about contracts, not only contracts for auto, I'll come to auto specifically, but contracts in general. We have seen so many people who have complained to us that they have signed blank contracts. I'm talking about smart people like yourself. Sign a blank contract, and when the people fill in the information, it's different to what they discussed with you. All the added fees and the added clauses and they add it in after. And it happens, yes, a lot of times with the first vehicle when, of course, you're excited. I like to say that. I didn't know you had that experience, but I always use that as an example, your 1st vehicle and you're excited. And so we have had the issue of people coming to complain about buying a vehicle and the first day they took it home, there was a transmission problem. Or they then realize when some friend is looking at it, you know, showing off now, but this part of it is rotten, you didn't see that, you know, or so many issues. And then we find that the contracts that are signed, especially if it's being done on HP basis, you end up in a whole lot of problems. Sometimes even when you pay cash, because it's difficult sometimes for these people to agree that they have wronged you and to give redress. For the year already, we have had complaints for the auto industry to the value, and I'm talking about 2023, to the value of $32,662,000. And that's just the start of the year. It's from parts to the actual purchase of a vehicle. And so we are advising, we're warning consumers, if you're going to invest all that money, the purchase of a car is not a small fee, it's not a small amount. That's a large amount, and that's something that may last you a couple of years. You need to, you bought it for a purpose, you're thinking of buying it for a purpose. Ensure that you take a mechanic you can trust, have the vehicle inspected before you pay, peruse that contract totally, and you have the right to ask to take the contract away, to have it checked by maybe an attorney, maybe a friend who is knowledgeable in that area. Check before you sign. And so, yes, please, please, please. We're buying more and more vehicles. We see so many vehicles on the road now. And with the numbers of vehicles, there's a corresponding number of complaints to the agency, right? So just be careful. Just be careful. We don't want to see you invest your hard-earned dollars and then you have to come to us, because I can't promise you that it will be solved in a day. Because of course we have to get our experts to check also to verify, because not every complaint is always a valid complaint. Because you might have done something to the vehicle between the time you bought it and the time when the problem develops. And so we have to verify that it is a valid complaint, and that's what I want to stress. We have independent experts in all the fields working with us. So we have mechanics, we have auto electricians, we have, if it's a cell phone issue, we have the cell phone repair people. So we have them verify first. They do a report, and yes, it's not Leroy's negligence. This is a manufacturer's defect. This thing came with a transmission problem. And so based on that report, we seek redress on your behalf.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I engaged the commission once in relation to a freezer that I purchased. That was sorted out, because the inspectors came and so on. But as in relation to what Ms. Parker would have said, we should also let you know that an act was passed in Parliament last year that
Yes.
speaks to hire purchase and so on. We're not going to get into that.
No, just briefly to say, we'll come back and talk to you about that. And I'll bring some of the other folks to talk more about it also. But just to briefly say that that should be a real triumph for consumers across Guyana who are engaged in the hire purchase.
Who live on hire purchase? Because there's some people don't buy nothing unless they buy any hire purchase.
Yes, right? Because that's how they can pay. They can only pay incrementally.
Yeah.
Right? They don't have all the cash. That's what hire purchase is supposed to do. But then what we found, consumers were being taken advantage of by many of the people who were offering the hire purchase agreement. And so that act was passed last year, late last year. And I can tell you they cannot repossess your goods if you pay the percentage of that amount already. They have 20, I think it's 20 or 21 days. They have to go to the court. So it's not as easy as now where they come. I've heard, especially in the auto industry, let me come back there, I've heard horror stories. Man bought a car. He paid 90% of the money. And in
the last month for the
yes,
installment.
his dog died. I'm just using it loosely. Life happened. And so he was late with that payment. His intention, by the way, is to pay. He's honorable and he's going to pay. He has been paying all along. Their intention is to pay. But they couldn't pay on the due date. And because the contract that they didn't look at properly indicated if you miss one payment on the due date, they have a right to repossess. And just like that.
And that could be a case of signing these blank contracts also.
Exactly. Some people sign it with their eyes wide open because your intention is to pay on the due date. And you have been paying on the due date. And you know you can pay on the due date. But something happened. Life happens sometimes. And just like that, that car that you paid most of the money for was repossessed.
So just to bring you up to speed or to break it down a little more for you, if you purchase a vehicle or a chair set from Courts or a refrigerator and it's 500,000 and you've been paying all the time and you have maybe 30,000 more for Courts, but you defaulted on that payment, before the law that was passed in December was passed, Courts could have repossessed that refrigerator, or the auto dealer could have repossessed that vehicle. Now they cannot do that. There is a process they have to engage in, and that process is basically to allow you an opportunity to explain why you did not pay within this particular period. And
They have to go to the court.
Good.
They have to go to the court.
And to have an opportunity to pay, as against losing all your investment into this vehicle or this refrigerator, so on. We spoke earlier about receipts. Does it apply to the community shops? How do you guys treat with that?
It applies all across.
What is the but?
But Um, the community shops, you have the relationship with the community shop person, and a lot of times you deal with them through moral suasion. They know you, they know Leroy, they know Leroy is a decent man. He comes and he buys his. Remember, we don't deal with food, so the community shop may be more food based, right? But he bought the, let's say, batteries, and he went home and it didn't work and so on. So you're from the community, you go back, and usually that's worked out at that level. We're talking about the real big ticket items now. Insist on your receipts.
Okay.
And I shouldn't, even the batteries, insist on your receipts if you buy it. The things like your batteries, things that your bulbs, ask for a receipt.
There's the commission is the Competition and Consumers Affairs Commission. What is happening on the competition side of things?
All right.
Because we don't hear much about the competition aspect.
And that is true. You're going to be hearing much more about that side of the commission during this year. Now, the competition side of the commission, as a matter of fact, that was the first act that was passed that established this commission, and that was in 2006 with the Competition and Fair Trading Act. And that act addresses the issue of fair competition for businesses, right? B2B across Guyana. And it looks at two aspects. I'll come back again, and because that is a whole conversation by itself. That's the part of the competition commission that we are least known for, but we want more people and more businesses to know about it. It looks at two aspects. It looks at the anti-competitive agreements among businesses, and it looks at abuse of dominance. Dominance in itself for a business is not a bad thing. It's the abuse of your dominance. So the Act looks at those two things. But we'll come back another time and talk about that aspect of the commission. And that's why our name is Competition and Consumer Affairs Commission. So we manage the two acts, the Competition and Fair Trading Act and the Consumer Affairs Act.
All right. Ms. Parker, is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up this edition of Focus?
Yes. I want to invite you, the consumers, to come out on March 11th. Annually, on March 15, World Consumer Day is observed and celebrated around the world. Every year it's under a different theme. This year's theme is Empowering Consumers Through Clean Energy Transitions. We will do our walk on the 11th, while the day is the 15th. The 11th is the Saturday, and it affords more consumers their own time to come out and join us on that walk. And our government is heading towards finding clean energy transitions. We got the gas to shore, we're looking at hydro, we're looking at solar, and it will empower consumers because those things are supposed to affect the finances. The finances. If it's clean, we're looking at, we're big on the LCDs, low carbon development. And so we are, I think, well on our way at looking at that. So we invite consumers to come out and walk with us. The walk starts at the Bank of Guyana building, the Main Street side. We head down Main into High, down Young Street, down Carifesta Avenue, and we end by the Kitty Pump Station. We're trying to get companies to sponsor t-shirts for walkers, white t-shirts. If we don't get the number, because I anticipate, come out in your numbers. It's a nice, we call it the energy walk. Energy, because the theme is on energy, and then your energy.
So you got a brisk walk.
Yes, right? No. So we invite you to come out on the 11th and join us on that walk. Look for more information in the media. Leroy is going to have it on his page. So you have some details. If you want more information, you can call us on 219-4410. I want to tell you we have prizes for the largest group, the oldest walker and the youngest walker. You have prizes. We have book gift certificates for the younger walkers at Giftland, and we have a trophy for the biggest group. So, Leroy, you could put your crew together and come and get that trophy. So you can add it to the other trophies you have here in your office.
We have a small team. Don't forget, you can call 219. Let's get this correct. 219 4410. That's 441023. And that is where you can alert the Competition and Consumers Affairs Commission on any irregularities within the service industries.
And remember, you're entitled to refund. I must close with that, Leroy, because that's a very sore point. Remember, the law entitles you to refund. If you buy a good and for some reason you change your mind, you don't want it, you realize your partner, your sister bought the same item today and you don't have need for two, or you took it home, you had buyer's remorse, things happen. You can take it back within 7 days and get your refund, but the supplier is entitled to keep 10% restocking fee. So if you paid $100, he can keep 10 and give you back 90. It must be in the same package, not tampered with, right? It must not be used. But then there's the other part. If you buy it and something is wrong with it, you have more than the 7 days. In the instance where you just had buyer's remorse, you don't want it, you didn't use it, it's in the same package, you just have 7 days. In the other instance, if it's defective, you have the period of the warranty. And that is why warranty is very important. We didn't touch on that, but it's important for you to get your warranty, because should something happen to that product during that period of time, the warranty covers you for that period. The Consumer Affairs Act says, in the absence of an explicit written warranty, you are entitled to 6 months warranty. So there are those suppliers who decide, I'm not going to give you a warranty. Think they're smart. But the Act covers you. You automatically have 6 months warranty in that case. If, however, you decide that you are going to buy that fancy Frigidaire that you were looking at all the time, or that smart 9 to how much inches TV, you went and you bought it and you decided, the supplier decides he's going to give you 2 days warranty, and you take the 2 days warranty, and on the 3rd day something happens to that television, that's it.
That's a written warranty?
Yes.
So underwritten triumphs the absence of?
It's explicit. He says 3 days, you agreed to 3 days. You did it with your eyes wide open.
Okay.
So should something happen on the 4th day, you have no claim. If you didn't get a warranty in writing and something happened to it on the 3rd day, then you can come to us on the 4th day or the same 3rd day, and we will engage the supplier on your behalf, because the Act says, in the absence of an explicit written warranty, you are entitled to 6 months warranty.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Parker. We've been speaking with Ms. Allion Parker. She's the Public Relations Officer of the Competition and Consumers Affairs Commission. This has been a production of the Big Smith News Watch. It is Focus. My name is Leroy Smith. Do enjoy the rest of your evening.
Did you know that you can check your NIS contributions online? Simply visit our website at www.nis.org.gy. Click on the Create New Account button and enter the required information. An automatic email notification will be sent to acknowledge your application. Once your information is authenticated, you will receive an email within 48 hours with instructions on how to access the site. Once logged in, you can click on the My Contributions tab on the left side of the screen to view your contributions. For further information, you can call our Records Department on 225-2798 or visit your nearest NIS office.